All my life I've been praying for, been waiting for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, that want no more. Our children to play one day, one day, one day. We'll have breakfast with Bob. Oh, yeah.
Pancho, man. Thank you, buddy. We are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka One One, Polar, Uska Wellness, Fellow Fix. Our championship edition will be at Four Seasons Hualalai, and we are airing on triathlonworld.com. Our next guest, he was fourth place here in 2013 from South Africa, Mr. James Cunnama.
That's it.
I see. Only took me since 2013 to figure it out. I like it. How you doing, James?
I'm really good. Really, really good.
Yeah. Now, this has been, it's funny, the whole domino thing, right? Because 2013, you get fourth, right? And then the following year, you go to Mont Tremblant, crash. So you come here injured and DNF.
Pretty much.
So no points.
No points. And then on the back foot and went into qualifying for the 2015 race on the back foot. Had a bad race at Ironman South Africa and basically got halfway through the year. I then DNF'd Cairns with heat stroke. They made us swim in wetsuits in 26-degree water because of the jellyfish. And I just got cooked.
Yeah.
So then it was June and I had almost no points. I'd basically have to do 2 or 3 Ironmans in the lead up to Kona, which is
ridiculous.
Not a good preparation for Kona.
So basically 3 marathons in about 4 months.
Exactly. And I basically right then decided to pull the plug on Kona 2015. And I came here supporting Jody. I watched the race from the sidelines and pretty much did an 18-month plan for this race on Saturday.
Yeah. So what did you, a lot of times back in 93, Greg Welch was injured and he watched this race and he learned a lot. Heather Jackson was on the motorbike a couple years ago and felt like she learned a lot, and then she ended up finishing 5th, and Welch won that following year after watching. Did you learn from watching this race?
Definitely. You definitely see a different perspective when you're out there. Not, you can watch it online, you can watch it, but they show the leaders, and they show the guys having a good day. You don't see everything else.
You don't see the carnage.
You don't see the carnage, and you get a different perspective when you watch it from the sidelines. Obviously, I had a vested interest in watching Jody more than the men, but obviously while I was out there, I did see the men, and you do get a lot of perspective on what this race requires, what it takes, and how difficult it is, really. People come into this race, it's a world champs, and it's you're fitter than you've ever been, and you're going to go faster than you've ever gone, and they don't really take into account that it's an 8-hour race.
Yeah, exactly.
They go out there, the first 60 Ks of the bike, like they're racing an Olympic distance. And,
it's really interesting to watch.
5 Ks in 15 minutes coming off the bike, and you're just like, it's a marathon. It's still a marathon, and it's hot, and it's humid, and it's difficult. And I think getting that perspective really set me up for this year. And qualifying, preparing for this race, and I don't think I've ever been in a better place coming into a race.
How hard is it to think, okay, I'm doing a 15-month build to get to Kona? I mean, that's a long build-up, and for a long time you've been self-coached. Now Scott DeFelipe's, who's has been a pro for a long time, is working with you, but you still come up with your program, but you found you needed another set of eyes.
Yeah. I did most of that 15 months myself, and I had a few ups and downs. Obviously, you have to pace yourself. You're preparing for a race in 15 months' time. You can't be fully motivated in the first 3 months of that block because you'll burn out. And I did have a few ups and downs, and that was why I brought on Scott to kind of give me that objective opinion, look over my program, make sure that what I'm writing is pushing me, challenging me, but not going over the edge, because I do tend to
too much.
I get excited. The more fit I get, the harder I go.
Right.
until I'm really burning myself out, and having that objective opinion to really just go, hey, whoa, you're right where you need to be. Just take it easy, get to the race, you'll be fine. And it's paid off. I've had some really good.
Yes.
I got second at Mallorca last year,
Yep.
which started my qualifying before this race even happened, and then. This year, going into the main part of the season, second at Ironman Nice, bit frustrating.
Really, because you felt like you could have won it.
Well, I was 35 seconds behind the winner.
You could have won it.
I could have won it. I made a few silly mistakes, a bit of a nutrition slip up, missed my special needs, and that pretty much cost me the win.
Yes.
which is very frustrating, but it's also easily fixed.
And it wasn't in Kona.
Yeah, and came out of it very positive.
Good.
And then went into a few more races.
Alpe d'Huez, Embrunman,
Alpe d'Huez and Embrunman, which I've done a few times both. Jody and I both won that in 2010, but I haven't managed to win it since then, Alpe d'Huez, and went back this year and just really had a great race. Just absolutely felt good. I was there with Scott, and we did a whole week of biking, including some massive climbs on our time trial bikes, and I really came out of that week feeling really positive about my training and going into Embrunman, which is obviously was the big test for this race. It's a really hard race. It's not exactly the same as Kona.
No.
5,000 meters of climbing, going over the Col d'Izard, and but it was a good test. It's a hard marathon run off a very, very hard bike, which is essentially what this race is.
Exactly.
And it went perfectly. It really went perfectly.
When you have a breakthrough race like you had here in 2013, sometimes expectations change from outside, from sponsors. New sponsors come on board, and even internally, right? Hey, I was fourth here. Why can't I be on a podium, and why can't I win? Was that something that happened with you? Was that something that...
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really affected me. It probably only affected my decision making more than my racing. In 2014, after that, I kind of put all my eggs in the Kona basket.
Right.
I've got to do better than fourth, otherwise I failed. And that's a really bad way to come into Kona.
Exactly.
You can't come into Kona going...
And injured.
Anything less than fourth is a failure. And I put all my eggs in that basket. I hardly did any races through the summer. It was all Kona. And then I crashed, came into the race.
Injured.
Still, all my eggs were in that basket, even though the basket now had a bit of a hole in it. And yeah, it just all went downhill. And I had to really reevaluate after that and take a good... hard look at what my career, my preparation, my focus, my motivation, because it's this race you have to come in with the right motivation. You can't come here going for a win if it's not on the table. It might just not be on the table. You have to focus on what this race requires and do the process rather than the goal.
Can you win this race?
Yes.
Yeah, with your running and you're strong across the board, right? And especially your run. And
yes,
you run well in the heat. You're from South Africa.
I'm confident. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to win this race.
No, but you could win this race.
But I could win this race. If things fall into place, if I have the race I'm capable of, I will be at the pointy end, and I think I can win this race.
I love that. And sometimes when you coach somebody, and you're coaching your significant other, soon-to-be wife, Jody Swallow, you learn something about yourself while you're sort of looking at somebody else who you're very close to, but you gain things from that help you. Has that happened with you?
Yes, I think so. I started coaching years ago before I was even a pro.
Okay.
And then I dropped it because it was too much admin, too much work when I was trying to focus on my own performance. But then when Jody needed my help, I took that on, and it was challenging, but very, very rewarding. Jody's obviously, she's a world champion before I ever coached her, and I can now claim that I coached her to a world championship a couple of weeks ago. But she was a world champion before I ever coached her, and it was really a case of seeing where the faults were rather than making her great. I just had to get rid of the things getting in her way. But it's been very rewarding. It's brought us closer together. It's we share everything now. We share the successes and the failures and everything. It's not just a case of, well, go speak to your coach then and sort it out. I'm the coach. We're going to do it all together. But it's been really rewarding, and I think we're both coming into this race with a bit more perspective on life and what makes us happy and what our goals are. And this race can be a reward for all the hard work and the time and the sacrifice, rather than the absolute pressure cooker where it's all or nothing. Essentially this year, no matter what happens on Saturday, I don't think it's going to be the biggest day of our year, because in 2 months we're having a wedding, and I think that'll be the biggest day of our year. So that's pretty exciting.
What does make you happy about this? Because this sport is pretty overwhelming. It's not like you're going to a 9-to-5 job. It's something that you're every night when you go to bed, you're thinking about what you're doing the next day and what you're doing like 15 months from now and all that type of stuff. What does make you happy?
I think that was the big lesson I've learned over the last 2 years. Struggling to get to this race, to be ready for this race, to after that fourth in Kona, I think what it came down to was I started the sport for the challenge. It was a personal challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been a runner my whole life, and I'd done some hard runs. I'd done some 50-kilometer runs. I'd done some marathons. And it always challenged me, but it didn't challenge me completely. And I started Ironman, and it challenged me completely. It was physical, it was mental, it was emotional, it was the full challenge, and that's what inspired me and motivated me. And it was what, overcoming that challenge, getting to the finish line, knowing I'd done the absolute best I could do, was so rewarding and made me so happy. And then when the results started coming in the fourth at Kona, it starts shifting to a results-oriented approach, and then suddenly you're like, well, yeah, that was a challenge, and I maybe got the best out of myself, but I came fifth, and that's no good.
And that's
And then you lose the enjoyment, you lose the challenge, you're all focusing on the wrong things. And I really had to step back and go back to, I'm doing this for me. It's a personal challenge. I want to get the best out of myself, and if I get the best out of myself, I'll be happy no matter where across the line.
So you came to Kona, I think first time was like 2009 or something like that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, shall
Well,
we?
you decided at that point that you weren't going to come back until you were ready. And you come back in 2013 and get fourth.
Yeah.
Did you surprise yourself that day by getting fourth?
Yes, the result just surprised me. The performance didn't.
Yeah.
I actually crossed the line, and I thought I could have done better. And that was exactly what I was just saying, is there was a personal performance-oriented approach.
Yeah.
I was only interested in doing what I was doing. I didn't pay any attention to anyone else's race or what anyone else was doing, and I just did my best. And I crossed the line and thought that was the best I had today. My stomach cramped a little bit. I probably should have run better. I could definitely have gone faster, but that was the best I had today, and I was happy.
Ecstatic. And at that point you're thinking, next year, I'm going to do this. You don't know it's going to be.
It's just one or two things, but as I said, things derailed. But coming off that 2009 race, it was amazing. 2009 was terrible. I was not ready for this race. I should not have been here. I got beaten by most of the girls. It was terrible.
It was overwhelming.
But again, a learning experience.
But you learned from that.
Personal challenge. It was like, right, I've got a lot of work to do. As this personal challenge goes.
Yes.
It's really challenging me now. I'd had a few good results in Ironmans then, and I was starting to think I've got this waxed. And Kona really brought me back down to earth and was like, you've got a lot more work to do in your personal challenge to be your best. I think we're getting closer to that personal best now.
Yeah.
So we'll see on Saturday.
When you look back over your career, is there an event that, like you said, something that made you feel that you knew you were in the right sport, you knew you were going in the right direction? Not so much, hey, when you finished fourth at Ironman, obviously that's something we all look at the outside. But was there an event before that you took more from?
Yeah, I think probably my first Ironman, actually. In Ironman South Africa, I'd been a volunteer for a couple of years before that. And I did my first Ironman. Because I knew the race director and because I'd done well in a half Ironman in South Africa, well, relatively, I actually started as a pro in my first Ironman. Back then it was speak to the race director, get in the pro field. It wasn't like it is now where you've got to get a license.
Right.
A whole palaver. And I raced as a pro. I came 13th in the pros, 21st overall, which was, a few age groupers beat me, but as my first Ironman, I was ecstatic. It challenged me completely. I cramped on the run and I pushed through it, and it was really like, this is for me. It wasn't, this is something I'm going to be the best in the world at. It was, this is something that completely challenges me, and I want to be the best I can be at it. Where that gets me to in the world is, who knows? We'll see. And we're still finding that out. I'm not sure where it's going to get me yet. Maybe fourth in Kona will be the best I ever get. But I hope not, and I don't think so.
I love it. James, as always, thanks so much for taking time. Love chatting with you. Always, always a pleasure. Mr. Poncho Man. James Cunnama has been our guest. Poncho Man, take us out, baby.
I've been waiting for, been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, don't want no more. Our children to play one day, one day, one day. You may have breakfast with oh yeah.
Poncho Man.
Sorry, we had a red alarm over there.
I know.